think we overhyping this victory, you know, in a sense where nobody picked Xander to win. Defense, reflexes, all that, But the only thing that I can say is I'm 10 steps ahead of I'm 10 steps ahead of him in smarts. And I think, that's where he'd get in trouble with, coming straight forward, trying to box me or trying to, think shot for shot.
Terence Crawford is now calling out Jaron Ennis after Boots challenged him. And the message seems clear. Crawford does not believe Boots could ever defeat him.
Knowing when to exchange, when not to exchange. When to move, when to hold. Like if you watched when he got real hurt, real bad, he didn't know when to hold. And we all yelling like, grab him. He's right there to be.
After Boots stopped Xander Zayas, he sounded confident. He spoke as if he was ready for anyone, whether it was Crawford, Virgil Ortiz, Fundora, or another major name at 154. But Crawford's reaction completely changed the mood. Instead of giving Boots full credit, Bud laughed it off and made it seem like he noticed something in that fight that fans were overlooking.
One thing in mind, I don't think no one picked Xander to win.
No.
And I love Xander and he's a great kid, but no one I think we overhyping this victory, in a sense where nobody picked Xander to win. Everybody was kind of like, okay, he's in over his head and it's a matter of time before Boots catch him and end the fight. But what round will it be? Right. Now, I think it's going to be different when he goes up against a Fundora or a Virgil, because if one of those guys get him hurt like Xander did, I don't think it's going to be the same outcome.
That is where the tension comes from. Boots looked dangerous, powerful, and explosive, but he also got touched in certain spots. And Crawford's side is using those moments as proof that Ennis is not ready for a fighter with Bud's timing, patience, and ring IQ.
Like I said, man, of course, everybody know the competitive nature in myself, but I don't worry about coming back to prove anything, because me coming back and proving something to people that it doesn't matter, what never matters. For that being, they would say, oh, well, he only fought Xander, or they'll come up with some type of excuse, but to credit Boots, like he's a tremendous talent and he's no walk in the park for no one, so he's a threat to anyone that he stepped foot in the ring with,
Crawford did not simply laugh it off. He also made it clear that he believes he is 10 steps ahead of Boots. And that is the kind of comment that hits harder than a normal response.
To be the Terence Crawford, Floyd Mayweather level of boxing, I need Josh Kelly, I need Fundora, I need Ortiz. We need names, Boots. None of that tune-up, none of that. If you want to be one of the best, you got to go out there and get it and be the best. Get back in the ring by 2027. Come on. If you really want to be one of them boys, I see he loves to talk. I see that. But you got to just show us in the ring. The resumes, that was the beginning of the resume last
So when Crawford says he has nothing to prove, he is basically saying Boots needs him more than he needs Boots. Ennis is still trying to reach that legendary level, while Crawford believes he has already shown the boxing world exactly who he is.
I haven't fought this guy, and when I do fight these guys, or when I do step up, then it's always an excuse. So now I'm at 38 years old, about to be 39, I don't have nothing to prove. I didn't win everything there is to win. I hope that Jaron have half of the career that I had, or surpass me. If he surpassed me, I'm going to be rooting for him. I'm going to be giving him his props. I'm not the type of fighter that, want to see him fail. I want to see him succeed. I want to congratulate him. I want to see him, make it to the Hall of Fame and, congratulate him and things like that, But when you say, oh, he would knock Terence Crawford out, or Terence Crawford ducked him, or Terence Crawford ran, and that's why Terence Crawford retired. It pisses me off sometimes, but at the same time, it's just the
You
game.
know the truth. Yeah, you know.
Crawford also made it clear that he feels like he has nothing left to prove. That statement changes the entire tone of the debate. Boots Ennis can call his name. Fans can argue about the matchup, and people can say Bud should return to answer the question. But Crawford is looking at it from a different perspective. He has already won world titles, defeated elite fighters, moved through divisions, and built a legacy that most fighters are still chasing.
Take it easy, big dog. You got anything in closing? Anything we didn't have?
Nah. I'm definitely a fan of boxing. You know, I'm gonna be in Australia. I'm gonna be.
Oh yeah, I know you're gonna be over there. Yeah.
I'm gonna be supporting Spence, rooting him on.
Yeah.
You know, I just like to support, you know, fighters in his own right. I done been in Boots' locker room supporting him. You know, so yeah, it's just crazy how the tables turn. You know, when people get to a certain plateau and they forget about things like that.
We picking Earl. I'm
Of course.
Of course. Sean and Sean.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sean better.
We gotta see.
Wow.
Boots did not seem bothered by Crawford saying he has nothing left to prove. From his perspective, that just sounds like a safe answer. Crawford can say he is 10 steps ahead, laugh online, and remind everyone about his legacy. But Boots sees it differently. If Crawford truly believes Ennis could never beat him, then Boots wants him to step back into the ring and prove it. He is basically saying Crawford cannot keep talking about retirement while acting like the fight is already decided. He wants Bud to either prove it in the ring or stop acting like Ennis is beneath him.
We focus on tasking and taking over this division. We ain't want to retire fighters.
Yeah, y'all keep on throwing Terence up. Terence took you retired. You leave Terence alone. Let him do what he's supposed to do. You know what I mean?
According to Shannon Sharp, Chad Okosinko Johnson, and Joe Johnson, Boots may be moving too quickly by taking on Terence Crawford. In their view, Crawford still has 7/16 more experience than Boots, along with greater ring IQ, patience, timing, and more ways to win a fight. Boots may be younger, stronger, and exciting to watch, but Bud has already proven himself at the highest level against elite competition. That is why they were not ready to say Boots would beat Crawford. In their eyes, Bud is still the better fighter. He sees mistakes before they happen, adjusts better than almost anyone in boxing, and knows exactly how to punish a fighter who becomes too comfortable. So, while Boots is certainly dangerous, they still believe Crawford is on another level right now.
I don't know if Bud would fight him like he fought Canelo. Bud is a lot smarter than you think. Bud, hey, people sleep on Bud. I don't know why. I mean, he's the only man that's unified 3 divisions. And you don't see guys go from 140 to 68. Jump three, basically one fight at 54. Basically, he jumped 3 divisions. 3. Come on now. But I don't know. I don't know if Bud's like, look, man, I done made money. Now it's time for me to sit back and let these young fellas, let the other fellas have it. He a 4-division champ. He's a 3-division unified champ. Let that sink in. In the 4-belt era, he got 3 divisions in which he had all 4.
Then Rick Glazer reacted to fans still pushing for a Boots Ennis versus Terence Crawford fight, and he brought the conversation back to money and reality. Rick tweeted, "For those dreaming about a Boots Ennis versus Terence Crawford fight, besides Bud has said he's retired, who is going to pay Crawford the kind of money to destroy Ennis that Crawford could make from an equally easy Canelo rematch, which would pay well north of $50 million. Think about that." Vinny's Corner also tweeted, "NGL, Bud Crawford stops Boots Ennis. Y'all better stop calling for that man." That reaction shows how some people are viewing the situation after Boots went over Xander Zayas. They are not denying that Ennis is talented, dangerous, and powerful at his new weight, but they believe Crawford is simply operating on a completely different level. In their view, Bud's timing, patience, counters, defense, and ability to adjust would be too much for Boots. So while Boots' side sees the Crawford call-out as confidence, Vinny's Corner sees it as a dangerous mistake. He is basically warning fans to stop pushing Ennis toward a fight where Crawford could expose his weaknesses and end the hype quickly. But Lou DiBella offered one of the most balanced takes on the Boots, Ennis, and Terence Crawford debate. He tweeted, "Right now, meaning right now, Bud Crawford unretires and he beats Boots. Just saying, age and inactivity help no one. So, if Bud wants to make that point, up to him. If he stays retired, he should do it now. Boots will not get worse and hasn't hit his prime. Boots' performance was a perfect launching pad for a major fight, and his offense captured people's attention. And if you think his remaining weaknesses weren't completely obvious to Bud and Bomac, you're mistaken. They were obvious to me and you, regardless of how good Ennis is and will become." That reaction was different because Lou did not dismiss Boots. He gave Ennis credit for an exciting performance and admitted that his offense grabbed everyone's attention. But he also pointed out that Crawford and Bomac likely saw the same openings that everyone else noticed. So Lou's message was simple. Right now, he believes Crawford beats Boots. But the longer Bud waits, the more dangerous that fight becomes because Ennis is still young, still improving, and has not even reached his prime yet. Boxing Massacre said, "Terence Crawford is an OG savage. Boots is overrated. Bud would have ended his career. That fraud Jaron Ennis should never mention Bud's name in his life." That reaction shows how strong the Crawford side of the argument has become. For some fans, Boots stopping Xander Zayas was not enough to prove he is ready for Bud. They watched the same fight and saw flaws, defensive openings, and moments where Ennis was hit clean. So while Boots fans viewed the victory as a statement, Boxing Massacre saw it as a warning. In his view, Crawford is too smart, too experienced, and too sharp to let those mistakes go unpunished. That is why he believes Boots should stop calling Bud's name before that matchup completely damages his hype. But according to Ray Jackson, Boots Ennis will beat the hell out of Crawford. That reaction pushed back against all the fans and analysts saying Bud would expose Ennis. Ray clearly does not see Boots as an easy fight for Crawford. From his perspective, Boots has the size, speed, youth, power, and confidence to give Bud serious problems. He believes Ennis is not just calling Crawford's name for attention. He genuinely believes Boots can beat him. That is why Ray's take matters in this debate. One side sees Crawford as too smart and too experienced, while Ray sees Boots as the younger, stronger fighter who is still improving and could make Crawford look old quickly. Then Terence Crawford reacted to the Boots discussion with one short line that had fans reading between the lines. Crawford said, "I'm going to keep my comments to myself, but y'all get it." That reaction did not sound like praise. It sounded like Crawford saw something in Boots' performance that he did not want to fully say out loud. Boots got the win, but he also gave people moments to question. He got touched, became a little comfortable, and showed openings that a fighter like Crawford would notice immediately. So when Bud said he would keep his comments to himself, the message felt louder than a long breakdown. He was basically letting fans come to their own conclusion. Boots may be dangerous, but Crawford looked at that fight like a veteran who believes he already sees the weaknesses. Sean Porter also gave his opinion on Boots, Ennis, and Terence Crawford. He looked at it from the perspective of someone who has actually shared the ring with Bud. Sean knows Boots is gifted. He sees the speed, size, switch-hitting ability, and offensive creativity. But when Crawford's name comes up, Porter understands there is a completely different level of challenge. Bud is not just skilled. He is patient, intelligent, aggressive, and constantly making reads while the fight is happening. Sean has experienced that himself, so his respect for Crawford is not based on hype. It comes from first-hand experience. That is why Porter would not rush to say Boots beats him. Boots may be younger and more explosive, but Crawford has already shown he can adjust, disrupt rhythm, and take away what a fighter does best. Against someone like Bud, one mistake can turn into an entire fight slipping away.
With speed and power.
I just think
and
this,
creativity.
you just don't see that. That's what this would have been.
Yep.
100%.
A plus versus A.
That's A plus
And
versus A. I like that.
Terrence just a little too
Yeah.
much and will catch him
Yeah.
and buzz Boots. And
Yeah.
I think that'll. I think Terrence stops him
It's
late.
such a special fight because you got two alpha males in the ring that are true alpha males. You know what I mean? I was an alpha male until I got in the ring with that dude.
It just
That dude, like, it was like the more he wasn't allowing me to do what he wasn't, and it was like, damn, okay, well then, you know.
You had one of them in eights and the other in sparring?
I don't know, because that dude hit me with a right hand in the sparring, and I was like, I was like, yo.
According to Boxing Ego, Crawford is not coming back from retirement for Boots, and the reason is simple. Bud does not need that fight the same way Boots needs it. Ennis is the one chasing the legacy name. Ennis is the one trying to prove he belongs among the best fighters in the sport. But Crawford has already built his resume, already won the biggest fights, and already reached a level where he can choose what makes the most sense for him.
Terence Bud Crawford makes it official, rejects the notion that he could come out of retirement to face Jaron Boots Ennis, stating he really has nothing to prove. Wishes Boots Ennis well on his journey, but he ain't coming out of retirement for no dang Jaron.
That is why Boxing Ego's point hits hard. Fans may want Bud versus Boots, and Boots may keep calling his name. But Crawford is not in a position where he has to answer every young fighter trying to use his name. If Bud comes back, it has to be for something massive, either huge money or a legacy fight that genuinely motivates him.
I do notice that there's a lot of times where Crawford, he's very passive aggressive. Like, you could tell he got this far in his career being a competitor and being very competitive, not wanting to lose, because you would hear that message and you would be like, all right, he's showing mad love to the youngin, to Jaron Boots Ennis, who actually, he just turned like 29, I believe. He had a birthday. But you hear that and you're like, all right, Crawford was being cool. But then you look at his social media last night and he had like a snarky type of tweet that everybody knows was pretty much sneak dissing Jaron Boots Ennis. Like, I got a lot to say, but I'm gonna just keep it to myself. So Crawford is a competitor, and I noticed that he does a lot of passive aggressive stuff where yesterday night after the fight, you're kind of like alluding to, insinuating, and subliminally getting at Boots. But now you're like, I wish him well. People are all, you know, you're being the bigger person. And then also in the same interview, he said this, play the clip.
I don't worry about coming back to prove anything, because me coming back and proving something to people that it doesn't.
Then Adola Adepo gave one of the strongest reactions to Boots Ennis's win and pushed the praise even further. He said that Jaron Boots Ennis has now put himself into the pound-for-pound conversation. That reaction shows how significant this victory was for Boots. Adepo was not simply praising him for looking impressive. He was pointing out that the level of his opponent matters. Xander Zayas came in unbeaten, confident, and carrying a championship-level reputation. But Boots did not just narrowly beat him. He broke him down and stopped him. That is why Adepo believes Boots belongs in the pound-for-pound conversation. Now, a victory like that changes perception. It takes a fighter from being called talented to being viewed as one of the best fighters in the sport.
Jaron Boots Ennis has now put himself, I think, into the pound-for-pound conversation. Like, without a doubt for me, he's now in the top 10 pound-for-pound, and I need to think very quickly about what number he sits at. Because yesterday, he beat an unbeaten champion and stopped him. I repeat myself, he beat an unbeaten champion and stopped him. Didn't go to points, wasn't controversial, beat him up. And I don't say that lightly, because Xander Zayas threw back. There was a time in that fight, I think it was round 3, where Xander Zayas started throwing back, and I even was on my Instagram story, and I was like, okay, we have a fight. Because the crowd started to get into it. It was the first time in a long time. I feel like we've seen Boots hurt, never really shaken, but you see Boots get connected, but Boots kind of took a back seat, like, okay, this guy's starting to land on me, and I was like, okay, this is it. Boots, though, is almost a bit, I'm trying to think of the fighter, Nigel Benn-esque for our UK viewers. When you hit him, he wants to hit you back. Almost a bit like a child in the playground. Like, there is no, okay, you're hitting me, I'm going to go on the defense and run away. No, fire with fire. And that was almost Xander Zayas' undoing, because Boots just hits too hard, he's too strong, he's too fast, and ultimately he's just too good. He's too good. He's had a couple of good performances.
Make sure to check out our other videos on the screen.